Learning the second Sikha on Parsha Shoftim in Chelek Chof Daled on page 107. The shir today is being learned Lila Nishmas Rabbi Yosef ben Yamin ben Rabbi Menashe Kaltman. Nachtem tzivui beParsha Seino, after the mitzvah in this week's Parsha, as kiyachres havai lekechos hagoyim goymer, when the Eibishter will kill and wipe out all the goyim in Eretz Yisrael, v'yirishtam goymer, you will inherit the land. So then you separate 3 cities as Ari Miklat, cities of refuge, for someone that killed accidentally, b'shegig, and he has to run and be there in this city. Is the pasuk Mamshech HaMaaseh? The pasuk continues and adds, if Hashem will broaden your borders as He promised your ancestors, and He'll give you all the territory that He promised your ancestors. You should add another 3 cities to the other 6 cities of refuge that are already separated before. Steht in Sifri, v'Yerushalmi. So both in Sifri and Yerushalmi it says, Gebracht in Rashi al-Asar, also quoted by Rashi here, as the tzivi batzitzich zum zman de lasad lavai. This mitzvah of adding these additional 3 cities, when Hashem broadens your borders, is when Mashiach comes, when Yidden will makumen oich eretz keini knizi kadmaini. When Yidden will also inherit the 3 additional lands of the 3 nations, keini knizi and kadmaini, that were promised to Avraham Avinu by the bris bein Absarim. And the Rambam brings this also lahalacha and hilchas ritzeach b'mei melech HaMashiach, in the days when Mashiach comes. We add another 3 cities to the 6 Ari Miklat. Where is it that we add them? That is in the 3 countries or cities of Keni, Knizi, and Kadmaini that was part of the bris that Hashem promised Avraham Avinu at the bris bein Absarim. Is he do and them the shaila? So the question on this is known. Why would it be necessary after Mashiach comes to add additional Ari Miklat? Seemingly at that time there'll be no murderers. Even amongst all nations in the world. As it says in the Nevuah, that then one nation on another nation will not lift a sword. So why is there a concept of separating and adding additional cities of refuge for someone that kills b'shegig? Now we can argue and say that since the Ari Miklat is primarily for one that kills accidentally, so that may be possible even lasad lavai. But no, is the even the possibility of someone that kills accidentally is not possible, is not relevant after Mashiach comes. Whether we look at it from the perspective of the one that's getting killed or the one that is the murderer, the one that kills. This is not going to be when Mashiach comes. And the Rabbi explains why not. Das Gufe, was a Mensch wird gehargit, is a beweis as im kumt achiv misa. If it happens that someone is killed accidentally, that means that he really deserved to die. Wie die Gemara sagt in Pasuk vashe loitzada v'halakim min liyadai. When one kills accidentally, he did not aim, did not want to kill, and Hashem orchestrates this to happen. So what does the pasuk mean that Hashem is making this happen? So the Gemara says, "B'mea kosev medaber." What is this pasuk speaking about? B'shnei b'nei yadam shehargus hanefesh. It's speaking about 2 people that killed someone. Echad hareg b'shegig, ve'echad shehareg es hanefesh, ve'echad hareg b'meizeh. That is, one killed accidentally, and the other one killed purposely. And ve'ein edus v'chulu. There was no witnesses. There's no one that saw, and therefore nothing was done about this. And now Hakadosh Baruch Hu mazmin al pudnik echad. Hashem makes these 2 individuals come and join and meet each other in a inn. The one that killed purposely and never got his punishment is sitting beneath a ladder. And the one that killed accidentally and never got his punishment, he never went to Galus, he's coming down on the ladder, and he falls off the ladder and falls on the person that's sitting below the ladder, and he kills this person that's there sitting below the ladder that killed someone that is purposely and now he gets his punishment. So the one that killed purposely got killed. Now the one that killed accidentally, and now there's witnesses here that see what happened, goyla. He will go in exile. So Hashem is orchestrating this to happen. So now this means that one that gets killed accidentally, it's because the person that got killed deserved to die. So since after Mashiach comes, there will be no case of anyone that ever kills purposely. So there won't be anybody that will be liable for such a punishment of death. And therefore Hashem orchestrates this that he should be killed accidentally. Same is also true regarding one that kills. That even to kill accidentally will not be a possibility after Mashiach comes. It's known as das Eivesein of an Aveda b'shoigig, one that transgresses, does an Aveda accidentally, kommt davon, was mot epis ashayches, it has to be that the person has some connection, me'anok upon him, vila'el, by v'holakim hinul yodai. Just like we see when it happens that Hashem orchestrates matters the way they happen because of what a person deserves. So similar, over here, when a person does an Aveda b'shoigig, is because he has a connection to this Aveda, to dem ra shabachet, to the negativity that's here in the Aveda. That's why Hashem allows this to happen. This is the reason why anyone that does an Aveda b'shoigig needs a kapara as well. That's the entire concept of a carbon chatas, that is. So being that when Mashiach comes, all evil in the world will be nullified. If so, there will be no place for one to do an Aveda even b'shoigig. So how can we say that Lasad Lavai, there's a need for Ari Miklot, if not mitzad anyone being killed accidentally, and not mitzad the Heirig killing accidentally, b'shoigig, is this even possible to happen when Mashiach comes? Says in there are those commentaries that explain as das was mit Lasad Lavai mafir sein, noch drei Ari Miklot, that after Mashiach comes, we will be separating another 3 additional cities of refuge, is the mitzvah. It's to fulfill a mitzvah that the pasuk says. Other b'lashna minchas chinuch. The way the minchas chinuch puts it is, for gzeres hakasav. It's a decree that the pasuk tells us. Ki mitzad asvara lo yitztarchel ari miklat lasad lavai. Because logically there will be no need for an ari miklat after Mashiach comes. Kirak sholem ve'emes ve'toiv yeh b'mei hamelach hamukuve b'meheri v'yameinu. Because only peace, truth, and good will be in the days of the King Mashiach that we hope for speedily in our days. It's a decree that Hashem decrees to fulfill this mitzvah. And the Gzeres HaKosav is that when Mashiach comes, we'll have a total of 9 Ari Miklat. But there's really no need for it when Mashiach comes. However, it's difficult to accept this answer. In the Parsha Gufa, if you look in the pasuk itself, in the Parsha where it says, if Hashem broadens your borders and you'll add another 3 cities, the pasuk itself says that there's a reason for this. It's not just a decree. So blood should not be spilled in your land that Hashem gives you as an inheritance. Which means, as euch demolt, wollen die Ari Miklat sein verbunden mit der Heilig Nefesh. That even then, these cities, the Ari Miklat, will be because of the case of a person killing someone. And it's coming to prevent this. There are yet other commentaries that explain, as the tzarich from the Ari Miklat, Lasad Lavai, the need for having the Ari Miklat after Mashiach comes, wird sein nor in dem Zman von Tchilas Yemayis HaMashiach. It'll only be after Mashiach comes, in the early days, after Mashiach comes. Was damalt, then, regarding this, the Gemara tells us, as ein bein olam hazel imayis HaMashiach, there'll be no difference in the nature of the world from the way things are today and after Mashiach comes. Elo shibud malchi is bulvad. The only difference will be that we will not anymore be subjugated under any government in the world. So in that time period, where nature will be the same, and the nature of people will be the same, so it's still necessary to have this Ari Miklat. But in a later time period, after Mashiach comes, in the continuation of time after, there'll be more daya, more knowledge or more connection to Hashem and more godliness. Then Oz lo yitztarchu ori miklot. At that time, it will not be necessary anymore for having these ori miklot. So the mitzvah here is only for the first time period after Mashiach comes. Now, according to this answer, it comes out as from them tzivui v'im yarchu b'avayla kechas gevulcha, that from this mitzvah itself, where the Torah says to add these additional cities to Meisav Zayin Gimel ori miklat lasad lavai, is a rayet to the day anal. This is a proof for this opinion quoted before regarding the first tkufa, the first time period after Mashiach comes, that naturally things will be the same. On Shittas Rambam, and the Rambam that rules like this opinion, as ein ben olam hazeh Moshe Mashiach el shivud malchus bulvad, that nothing will change in the nature of the world, be like with the way things are today, will be after Mashiach comes. B'tchilas zman Mashiach lakapanim, at least in the first time period after Mashiach comes. The Rambam is Meirich B'Sifrei, and as the Rambam speaks about this at length in the Sefer, in the last halachas of the Sefer, he says, "Vayala lalev." You should not think should be Moshe Mashiach yivatel davim min hagish leilam, that when Mashiach comes, something of the nature of the world will change, or yishim chidish b'maisa bereishis, there'll be anything novel in nature. Ela olam ki min hagei nayeh. The world will be the way it in nature was until this point. This is the way the Rambam paskins, and the Rabbi there argues in this. But here, according to this interpretation of the pasuk here regarding the Ori Miklot, it's a clear raya to this opinion. So because the nature of the world won't change, it'll be possible for there to be someone that kills someone b'shoigig. Now the mit with this explanation, we could also explain a certain question, a diuk in the how the Rambam quotes this inyan. Nachdem wie der Rambam redt wegen dem Emunah b'bias HaMashiach. After the Rambam speaks about the belief in the coming of Mashiach, as kol mi she'eino maimeh b'chulu, one that does not believe in the coming of Mashiach, that loi b'shar ha'neviim b'lvad ha'kofer, he's not only denying what the prophets they have prophesied about the coming of Mashiach, ela b'Torah or b'Moshe Rabbeinu, but he's also being a kafir, he's denying what it says in Torah and then by Moshe Rabbeinu. Shaharei Torah hidolov. The Torah tells us about the coming of Mashiach, Shanem Achulu, and he brings the psukim that it says in Parshas Nitzavim, and then it says Af Parshas Bilam Nemachulu, and then what it says in Parshas Bilam is a mamshech, and then following this, the Rambam says, brengt noch a raye in a bazundra halacha. The Rambam brings an additional proof, and he quotes this in a separate halacha that Af ba'orei miklot hu'aymer, that also regarding the Orei Miklot, the pasuk says, "V'im yarchu v'avayla kechas gevulcha v'yisacht l'cha oid shol l'sharim chulu." When Hashem broadens your borders, you add another 3 cities. Now, this never came to be. Hashem does not give a mitzvah that is not applicable at all, and therefore this is the proof that this will happen when Mashiach comes. Isn't it move on? So the way that Rambam brings this, we can be medayik as follows. Why is the Rambam separating this proof from a pasuk in Torah for the coming of Mashiach in a separate halacha, not together with the other proof that he brings in the halacha before? So based on what we explained before, we can say, as the mid will the Rambam meramezayin, that with this the Rambam is hinting as the Raye von Orei Miklot bazieht sich nicht nur zu dem, was sagt in der halacha shel lifnei, that the Rambam here, with this proof, is not only proving what he said earlier, a proof in the pasuk and Torah for the coming of Mashiach in general, but it's also a proof for what is being explained in the following halacha afterwards, where he says as follows: you should not think that Mashiach has to perform wonders and miracles, and bring novel things, change of nature in the world, or he's the one that will bring tchias hamesim, or anything similar. That's not the case. And he proves it from the story with Rabbi Akiva and brengt the raya from Ben Kuziba. Ben Kuziba, Rabbi Akiva considered him to be Mashiach in his times, and it did not ask of him to perform any miracle. So regarding this point as well, as is Vedanet Zayin, Kin Chidish Dava Ba'ilam, that when Mashiach will come, there will be nothing new in the world, is the Aychache von dem Tzivui zu Meisav Zayin Orei Miklot Lasad Lavei. We can prove this from this mitzvah that we have to add another 3 cities of Ari Miklat after Mashiach comes. Because this teaches us that after Mashiach comes, the world and the nature of people will be the same as before. Is move on as nitas is in yonif for Mashiach. So if that will be the condition of the world in general, so it's understood that regarding Mashiach himself, it's not his inyan, it's not his focus or idea to bring change in nature in the world. Nitas is the bechina as there is Mashiach, and therefore this is not the way we see proof for the fact that he's the true Mashiach. So therefore the Rambam here is bringing this halacha about Ari Miklat also as a point, as a proof for this idea that if there's going to be Ari Miklat, that means that Olam Kimenhagin Nayik, that the nature of the world will not change. Okay, so this explains, according to this opinion, and according to the Rambam, that paskins like this opinion, how is a mitzvah of Ari Miklat L'asad Lavi for the first time period after Mashiach comes. To learn in Rambam. However, it's difficult to learn and explain this way what the Rambam says. If the Rambam, in fact, it means to say here, as from the Haisafas Ari Miklat is Arayim Ochachas, that from the fact that 3 cities of Ari Miklat are added is a clear proof as Melech HaMashiach darf nit machen kein Eisus Umayvsim and Machadish Dvarim Ba'olam, that Mashiach does not have to perform any wonders or miracles or anything new in the nature of the world. Volta das gesagt beferish. The Rambam would say this clearly. If the Rambam is looking for a proof, as we see in the following halacha, that he's looking for a proof for this, and here we have a very clear proof from a mitzvah in the Torah, why would the Rambam not say this clearly? This is a very strong proof from a pasuk and a mitzvah. On the Rai was bringt from Ben Kazibe is from Divrei Udrashas Razal. On the other hand, the proof that the Rambam does actually bring for his point is only from what it says in Razal. Why wouldn't he bring this clear proof from the pasuk? The Rambam does not bring this and doesn't quote it clearly as a proof of this. Nachmer, additionally, from the Signan Aloshem mit welche the Rambam hyped on the halacha. Gimel, Shalach Rezeh. If you look at the way the Rambam begins, the halacha, that's halacha Gimel, after he brings the proof from Ari Miklat. So the Rambam begins, Va'al, Yalal, Daitcha. It should not enter your mind to think, Shamelech HaMashiach, Tzarech Lasses, Eisus Umayvsim, Mechadish Dvarim Ba'olam, that Mashiach has to perform wonders and miracles in the world. Which means, the Rambam begins as a new idea here. Unit ve'ein hamelech hamashiach tzarech la'asos choli. He doesn't just simply continue and say that, and Mashiach does not have to perform miracles. Is mashma, so the way the Rambam puts this, it seems, as oich noch der halacha beis, that even after he brings what it says in the Torah, that he brought in halacha beis, wegen Ari Miklat L'asad Lavi, that we will need additional Ari Miklat after Mashiach comes. Ken zayin a kasolka daitach, yal daitcha. One can still think as Mashiach tzarech la'asos eisos cholo, that Mashiach's coming means that he has to perform miracles. And as a shaylo va Rabbi Akiva cholo. And the only way to negate that idea is because of Rabbi Akiva that didn't demand any miracle from Ben Kaziba. So what do we understand from the way the Rambam puts this? Das heißt, as from the tzivui lo haisif Ari Miklat L'asad Lavi. So we see here from the way the Rambam puts this that the mitzvah itself to add the Ari Miklat after Mashiach comes is kein rayanit as Mashiach vet nit davon weisen kenesis und meivsim chulu, is not proof for the fact that Mashiach does not perform wonders and miracles. He says, move on, as es euch kein rayanit von dem, as es vet nit sein kein shinim in agel shalayla. And if so, it's also not proof of the fact that there won't be a change in the nature of the world. Which means that even if after Mashiach comes, there will be a change in nature, but nevertheless, there still is a need for Ari Miklat. So the question comes back, why is that the case? So this is, in other words, the Mefarshim that say, this is the Shlah that says that the need for Ari Miklat is only in the first time period after Mashiach comes when there's no change in the nature of the world, no change in the nature of people. But here, from the way that Rambam puts it, where he brings first the psukim of Ari Miklat, and following that, he says, Va'al yalal daitcha, that you shouldn't think that there will be miracles when Mashiach comes. That means that these psukim about Ari Miklat could still be relevant in a time period when there will be wonders and miracles. How could that be? So we can say and explain this as follows. From the fact that the Torah says to add these Ari Miklat after Mashiach comes, is kein rayanit, there's no proof at all, as demolt vet zayin olam kimenhagin nayik, that then after Mashiach comes, the world will still be in its nature as it was before. Weil die Ari Miklat wollen sein, zu lieber heilig nefesh beshkagel lefnei zeh, Bizman hazeh. Because you can simply say that the Ari Miklat at that time that will be separated will be for those that have already killed someone accidentally before Mashiach came today, before. On Zayin Digdemelt in the Artzais, Keni Knizi Kadmaini, and being that then Yidden will be also living in these territories of these additional nations of Keni Knizi and Kadmaini, Vetadafen Goyle Zayin in Ir Miklat. So one that killed B'Shegeg Bizman Hazeh will then have to go and run to a city, Ir Miklat, and therefore it has to be available for him in those cities of Keni Knizi and Kadmaini. Now, where do we find this idea? When someone does an Aveda today, and today that punishment of going to an Ir Miklat, Golus does not apply today, but when Mashiach comes, one that did the Aveda today will have to go to an Ir Miklat. If you begin by Chiyav Chatas, we find this concept by the bringing a carbon Chatas for doing an Aveda B'Shegeg. The Gemara says, as Rabbi Shmuel, Kosev al Pinkosai, Rabbi Shmuel had a pinkis, a booklet, or a diary, as Kashiyibana Bis HaMikdash Avi Chatash Meina. And he would write in his notes, and he wrote in it, when Mashiach comes, I will bring a fat animal for a carbon Chatas for a time that he was Machal Shabbos B'Shegeg. So we see that for an Aveda that one does Bizman Hazeh, there is a obligation, or at least an inyan, in the case of Rabbi Shmuel, that he wrote, it'll bring a carbon Chatas when Mashiach comes. So we could apply that similar also to the Chiyuv or the Einish of Galus that applies to someone that killed Bizman Hazeh. Now, Alpha-P, you may ask on this, as a time for Navdalas Ari Miklat, the reason why these cities are being separated, and you have to prepare the roads, and you have to have more than one Ir Miklat, you have to have 6 or now 9 of them available in different locations. Why do you have to have the ways and the cities all available in so many different locations? So the pasuk says the reason is pen yirdev goyel adam achre ritzeach, because the goyel adam, which is a relative that wants to revenge the blood of his relative that was killed, and he may be chasing after this murderer, ki yecham levavai, because his heart will be heated up to go and take revenge, v'hisigai, and he'll reach the murderer, and the reason is ki yir ba'aderech v'hikol nofesh, because it'll be a far distance to run away to the Ir Miklat, and he may then kill him. So the point is, Kedei Kenan Antleifin from dem Goyel Adam. To have these cities spread out with a proper road to take you to these cities is so that the murderer can run away from the Goyel Adam, from a relative that may be chasing him. So if Hashem broadens your borders and you're living further spread out, therefore, so now you have to add additional cities. So you have cities that are close enough to you to save yourself from the Goyel Adam that's chasing you. So we see here that the point of the Ari Miklat is not just as an einish, as a punishment for the fact that one killed B'Shegeg, but it's also to save a person from the Goyel Adam that chases him and that is allowed to kill you. Now seemingly is Yecham Levavi Gaimer Nitshayach Lasad Lavai. But this detail here, that a person gets all heated up, that he wants to take revenge, is not something that applies after Mashiach comes, when Ruach HaTom Avim and Aretz, or when even amongst nations of the world, there's no Yisod Goyel Goy Cherev. So this detail of Yecham Levavai would not apply then after Mashiach comes. So seemingly the answer that we gave here is insufficient, that it's all for someone that killed Bizman Hazeh, and now he needs the Einish of Ari Miklat after Mashiach comes. So why does he have to have the Ari Miklat, a new Ari Miklat designated for him in these new countries that Yidden are living in? He can go to the other Ari Miklat that are in Eretz Yisrael. You only need them here because you're running away from the Goyel Adam and you want to have cities, Ari Miklat, closer. But for the Goyel Adam chasing and wanting to kill the murderer that killed someone accidentally is Yechem Levave, seemingly something which it's him personally that he wants to take revenge. But that's not something, a kind of feeling that a Goyel Adam will have after Mashiach comes. So it's not necessary to designate new cities. So the answer to this is, it says in the Sifri in this week's Parsha, mitzvah biyad Goyel Adam lirdef. It's actually a mitzvah that the Goyel Adam chase the murderer and kill him. Und wie bald is a mitzvah, so if that's his mitzvah, is move on as das is shayach eichlas ad love. So we're not talking over here, when it says in the Torah, yechem levavai, we're not talking about someone that has a personal feeling of revenge, and the Torah gives the murderer a place and a way how to save himself. But the Torah actually gives a mitzvah to the Goyel Adam to revenge the blood, and if the murderer does not run to Ir Miklat, then the Goel Adam will fulfill that mitzvah. Otherwise, the murderer that is, could be safe in the Ir Miklat. So this applies if it's a mitzvah. This applies even after Mashiach comes. B'meila, darf sein the Ir Miklat. So you need the additional Ir Miklat kedei zu antleifen von dem Goel Adam, in order to escape of the relative, the Goel Adam, that wants to revenge the blood of his relative. This is according to what it says in the Sifri. Now here the Rebbe clarifies, according to what it says in the Mishnah regarding this halacha of the Goel Hadam, having the Rishus, being allowed, or maybe even a mitzvah, to kill this murderer that killed B'Shegeg. The Mishnah is now in the Mishnah it says, as mitzvah b'yad Goel Adam tzahagen in dem Ritzeach, that it is a mitzvah that the Goel Adam killed the Ritzeach, not in fall von Ritzeach sheyotza chutz t'tchum ari miklat u'matza Goel Adam. But it's only in a case where the murderer was in the city, in the Ir Miklat, and he left the city. That's when the Goel Adam is allowed to kill him. Aber nit wenn halt erst beim Antleifen in Ir Miklat. But not if he's escaping to the Ir Miklat for the first time. So then the Goel Adam, it's not a mitzvah for him to kill him. Which what that would mean is that it's again not so necessary loss of love to separate these new Ari Miklat, to have them close in the location where this person that killed B'Shegeg Bizman Hazeh is, because the first time he's running away to an Ir Miklat, he can even go to a far distance, because there's no mitzvah for the Goel Adam at that point to kill him. And loss of love, the Goel Adam would only do it if it's a mitzvah. Aber, however, Kedei Shaloila Fushe B'Machleikis, in order to not have another machlekes here in this subject, Yeshleima, we can say that it's not an argument here. As oich loiderde, even according to this opinion here, the Mishnah, meint this nit. This does not mean as dafke demelt. It's only then la'achavier is a rayin in Ir Miklote. Only after the Ritzeach entered into the Ir Miklot, von dort reis von chutz l'tchum, and only then he left the boundaries of the city. That now there's a new mitzvah that the Goel Adam has now to kill him. It's not a mitzvah that only begins after he leaves the borders of the city. Aber Eide, der Ritzeach kommt le'ir miklotay, is an Isser if ein Goel Adam zu hagen in dem Ritzeach, punkt wie ein anderer Mensch. And we were to say that, according to the Mishnah, before he ever had a chance to escape to the Ir Miklot, the Goel Adam, the relative, is not even allowed to take revenge, not even allowed to kill him. So the Rebbe says, in order not to have another machlekes here to this extent, so therefore let's say as follows: not rather as oich l'deyezu, even according to this opinion, is milachat chile, even from the beginning, nachfar der nisa la'ari miklat, even before the murderer escapes to the city, to the Ir Miklat. Is shoin da mitzvah al derech v'shittas asifri oifen Goel Adam zu neukim sein misas kreve. It's already a mitzvah for the relative to take revenge for the death of his relative. The mitzvah begins before, just like it says in the Sifri. No, however, what is the Mishnah saying here? Since the Torah is providing for the one that killed B'Shegeg this protection of the Ir Miklat, so by this that the Torah is telling us and providing us, this city, what this is teaching us, this is forewarning for us, that is, as Kozman der Ritzeach is noch nit angekommen le'ir Miklatay, that as long as the murderer did not arrive to the city of refuge, is Arya hu der Revia le'ef den Goel Adam und erkennet mekayim sein mitzvasei. So then the Goel Adam does not have yet the opportunity to fulfill the mitzvah. It's like when one has a lion that's preventing someone from doing something. It's just an external factor that does not yet allow you to fulfill something. So here as well, before the Goel Adam, or again, before the Ritzeach, that is, escapes to the Ir Miklat, the Goel Adam already has that mitzvah. But because the Torah designates these cities of refuge, so that mitzvah cannot yet be fulfilled technically, because he has those cities of refuge that don't allow you to fulfill it. And even the time to escape does not allow you to fulfill it. But the mitzvah could only be fulfilled later. But even according to the Sifri, the actual mitzvah starts already before. Even as soon as he kills B'Shegeg, the actual mitzvah starts before. Okay, so again, the point here is the Rebbe's answer for the need to have nu Ari Niklat Lasad Lavai is for someone that killed B'Shegeg Bizman Hazeh, and Lasad Lavai he has the einish of not going to the Ir Miklat. And this is also for what the Torah says, Yechem Levavai, that the Goyal Adam would want to kill the murderer. And the reason is because mitzvah biyad Goyal Adam lirdayf, it's a mitzvah which would apply even Lasid Lavai. What we still need to understand here in this subject is B'shittas Rambam, according to the Rambam's opinion. The Rambam paskentach, because the Rambam has a different opinion here. The Rambam rules like the opinion that says, "As is nor arishus biyad Goyal Adam lahargai, then yotza chutz l'tchuma bezodin," that it's only a permission granted to the relative to kill this person that killed b'sheigig, and that's only when he left the border of the Ir Miklat purposely. Only after he enters and left purposely, then it's only a rishus for the Goyal Adam to kill him. Ulachayre, now seemingly, afilu l'daitai, as lasad lavai is olam kimin hagin. So now even if we were to say, like we suggested before, that since according to the Rambam, in the first time period after Mashiach comes, the nature of things in the world will be the same, is enechanami, as es ken zayin al heilig nefesh b'shgaga. So even if you'll say, because if that's the case, it's possible that someone even then will kill someone b'shegig. But the question though still is, vi kumta bedemelt yecham levavai ubemela amitzias from Goyal Adam. But how, according to the Rambam, can we say that it's necessary to have new cities, new Ari Miklot, because of the Goyal Adam that's chasing the murderer, because his heart heats up with the desire to take revenge, which according to the Rambam is not a mitzvah. This is just a reshus. So this yechem levavai should not apply lasad lava when people should not have such a kind of feeling. Vibal the Rambam alein paskins. Now the reason is because the Rambam himself says, as Bai says, man, in the time after Mashiach comes, and this is even in the beginning, in the first time period after Mashiach comes, le'yisham le'rav, will be no hunger, v'le'im l'cham, and no war. Not even any jealousy or competition. The entire world will only be occupied with the knowledge of Hashem. In in a time where the condition is that there's no jealousy or competition, and everyone is occupied just to know Hashem alone, is that one would kill another even if he doesn't deserve death. But it's only a revenge that his heart got heated up to do this. According to the Rambam's opinion, that this is only a rishos. Now you can't answer and say, as das was that the need for these Ari Miklot after Mashiach comes will only be that zayin nitayv zum matl zayin dem heilig nefesh b'shgaga from dem Goyal Adam. It won't be serving this purpose to save the one that killed b'sheigig from the relative of the Goyal Adam, nor al tzakapara for dem chet. It'll only serve the purpose of the atonement for the sin that he did. The cities of Ari Miklat are not just to protect and to save him, but it's also a kapara, an atonement. Therefore, you need these additional cities after Mashiach comes. So you can't say this. Because the pasuk clearly says, that the reason for these cities after Mashiach comes is in order that blood should not be spilled, and in other words, it's here as a protection for the Ritzeach B'Shegig. So the question still remains, how is there any inyan of protecting the Ritzeach B'Shegig Lasad Lavai, if Lasad Lavai, the Goyal Adam, which has no kinna, no tachlis, no feeling of jealousy, or no bad feelings about this person that killed his relative B'Shegig, would not be interested in taking revenge at all. Another point. If the whole point of the Ari Miklat, according to the Rambam, is only for one that killed b'shegig in order to have an atonement, but as far as a protection from the Goyal Adam, it's not necessary then, is so then there's no concern as ki yirba haderech, that it'll be a very long way for the Ritzeach to go to the Ir Miklat v'yikol nafesh, so the Goyal Adam may catch up with him and kill him. Is nitok and hechrach of Ari Miklat and Eretz Keni Knizi Kadmoni Dafka. So then you don't need to have new cities of Ir Miklat in these new countries of Keni Knizi and Kadmoni to have a short route. As then doch shain da Ari Miklat and Eretz Yisrael ve'Ever Yarden. It's enough the other 6 Ari Miklat that you have in Eretz Yisrael and also on the other side of the Yarden, where this Ritzeach can go to and get his kapara. When the time is however, in a time period when the cities of Ari Miklat are needed for, and primarily for saving the one that killed B'Shegig from the Goyal Adam, is move on. So we understand why we need these additional Ari Miklat in these new countries. As by Lonu Shama is Nigeya as is on the time Yerba Derech, because when he's escaping to the Ir Miklat to save himself of the Goyal Adam, you have to have a short route, so you have to have the new cities in these countries. But the question is, seemingly, this is all only true according to what it says in the Sifri, that it's a mitzvah, b'yad Goyal Adam, to kill the Ritzeach, and therefore this is possible even Lasad Lavai. But according to the Rambam, that it's only a Rishus, Lasad Lavai, when there'll be no kina, no tachros, so there should be no feeling for the Goyal Adam to be interested in taking this revenge and to want to kill the Ritzeach. So why is it necessary to have new cities as a protection for the Ritzeach? So to explain this, we can say the halacha from Goyal Adam mit alle pratim. The halacha is about the Goyal Adam, with all the details of the Goyal Adam, is nit an inyan from Dibra Torah keneged Yetzirah. To wait to understand this, even according to the Rambam, that says that it's only a reshus, it's only permission granted to the Goyal Adam to take revenge and kill the Ritzeach. This is not something that should be understood as the Torah granting permission. Why would the Torah grant permission if he's not chayiv misa? That maybe we would think Dibra Torah keneged Yetzirah, that this is similar to what we find in other places, that the Torah speaks because the Torah understands the nature of the Yetzirah. And in our case, here the Torah will convince, the Yetzirah that is, will convince the relative that he should get cooked up about this and look to take revenge. And therefore, since the Torah understands that this is human nature, that you may want to take revenge, therefore the Torah gives permission, and even furthermore, a mitzvah to kill the Ritzeach. So the Torah is only saying this because of the way the Torah understands human nature. And there's the example of this as the Rabbi brings in Hara 59 from the Eishes Yifas Torah, where Chazal tell us this concept of Dibra Torah keneged Yetzirah. But that's not the case over here. Varom oib ahirig nefesh b'shgaga is nit chayiv mise is wie es shayach zu sagen as the Goyal Adam hat reshusim zu hargenen. If one that kills b'shegig is not chayiv misa because it only happened b'shegig, how would the Torah allow and give permission even to the Goyal Adam to kill him? B'kol shken as this is a mitzvah if in Goyal Adam, and even more so, how could it even be a mitzvah? So again, you may mistakenly think that it must be that the Torah is saying this because the Torah understands the Yetzirah, the Torah understands human nature with the Yetzirah, and therefore it allows or gives a mitzvah to do this. But this is not the true pshat. Rather, nor das is an hage me'ikare al pi Torah oy mitzvah. This is something, the Goyal Adam wanting to take revenge for the spilled blood that was killed b'shegig. This is something which is a conduct that the Torah comes and says that this is the right approach, this is the right thing. As an adoi fanim, there are cases when the Torah hates bezdin zoloisfirin dem chiv misa, where the Torah says it's the bezdin, the court, that has to go and give the punishment of death to someone. Then as an adoi eden vasra, in a case when one killed b'shegig and it's with witnesses and with proper warning. Faranei fanim, there are cases when it's kumt misa b'dei shemayim, when one kills and then he only gets the punishment of death that Hashem gives the person from heaven. When one kills b'shegig, wie bald as durch ihm is gehargert geworden, a nefesh mi Yisrael, since through him a soul, a life of a Yid was taken away, hat Torah das übergegeben zu dem was roile yoshai. So here the Torah gives over this to a relative, one that can inherit, a relative, a shaychus to him, one that has a connection to him, v'mela is al pi Torah. So therefore, when it says in the pasuk Yechem Levave that he's heated up about this matter, it's al pi Torah this way because he's a relative to hargenen dem Ritzeach, that it's given over to him that he should be the one to kill the Ritzeach. In order to remove them v'ratzach Goyal Adam es Ritzeach goyme v'leisichu koif alanas goyme and v'leisachnifu es haaretz goyme, to that the Goyal Adam kills this murderer and you should not take any payment to allow him to be free from this. And the land, Eretz Yisrael, should not become polluted by a murderer. And there's no atonement for him unless he's killed. And And as it says in the parasha, also this expression of Ahoy Alech Adamim, the Maisachet, to atone for the Aveda that happened over here. So in other words, the point here is that the concept of a Goyal Adam killing the Reitzeach B'Shoigeg is something that is a einish al pitayre, that he really deserves to die for what he did, taking away the life of another yid, even if it's b'shoigeg. Okay, we have to learn in the Gemara to understand exactly what b'shoigeg is and what this means, that he really is chayiv a punishment for what he did. But the Torah just gave it over to the Goyal Adam. Now, according to this, we could understand that this point is true even according to the Rambam, that says that it's a reshus for the Goyal Adam to kill, and even if the Rambam does not agree that it's a mitzvah. Und the Rebbe, so therefore, is oich ledas Rambam was paskint as reshos leGoyal Adam lahorgai. The Rambam that says that it's only a permission granted to the Goyal Adam to kill the Ritzeach. But it still will be necessary to have the additional Ari Miklot after Mashiach comes. I found leithim from the Goyal Adam for the murderer to escape from the Goyal Adam. Vibalt, as the Goyal Adam, is an inyan al pitayra, because the fact that a Goyal Adam is seeking to revenge the blood of the person that was killed, his relative, is al pitayra this way. It's not just a personal thing. It's not just a personal feeling of revenge that comes from the Yetzer Hara, that his heart, he gets cooked up about this matter. If that would be the case, it wouldn't be possible also to speak about such a thing, but this is something which is even so al pitayra. Ubemele is this oich bahazman lasad lavai, when it says leikina v'tachras nor esek halaylam vadasas Hashem levad. So even after Mashiach comes, and the world will be just a place with no jealousy, and everyone just occupied with the knowledge of Hashem, but still the idea of a Goyal Adam taking revenge and removing a murderer that took away the life of another Yid applies even after Mashiach comes. And therefore, even according to the Rambam, we could still give the answer that we said before, that we're speaking here about someone that killed b'shoigeg b'zman hazeh, and therefore it's necessary for him now to have the Ari Miklot after Mashiach comes, and it's necessary to have additional Ari Miklot, to have a short route to the Ir Miklot, so that the Goyal Adam, even lost love, that al pitayre, there's an inyan for him to kill the one that took away a life b'shoigeg, and therefore he has to have the way, the road to a short route to the cities of the Ari Miklot to save himself from the Goyal Adam. Okay, now the Rebbe concludes, V'yehi ratzon, as durch der Avede von Ari Miklot bezman hazeh beruchnius, that through fulfilling this mitzvah of Ari Miklot today, that we don't have Ari Miklot physically, but we have the Aveda of Ari Miklot in a spiritual sense, which is limited Torah. That the cities of refuge today is learning Torah. As the Gemara says, was divrei Torah kailton. The words of Torah take in, absorb the one that learns. Ubefrat in dem Zman was es gegeben geworden als Miklot, especially in the time period of the year, which is given as a place, a city to absorb one, to come and serve Hashem, which is the Chodesh Elul. The month of Elul, was Rosh Hashanah is Ino liyodei v'samti loch. Hashem designates for you a place, a city where you can go there and save yourself. And this is the remes here is lirmois. It's a hint. Ki HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'chazdei. Hashem with His kindness, Ino v'zimin chodesh Elul. He prepares and designates the month of Elul l'chol mi shechat b'toich Hashanah, for anyone that sinned throughout the year. Sheyoshev oz b'tshuva v'yikabluhu. That when the month of Elul comes, he should do tshuva and Hashem will accept the tshuva. So so by this Aveda of Ari Miklot bezman hazeh, divrei Torah kailton, and the month tshuva in the month of Elul will be zeiche speedily to the miyarchev avaylekecha gevulcha, that Hashem will broaden our borders, and literally, on es vet zayin the vayisafta l'cha'oid sholish arim, and we will fulfill the mitzvah of adding the Yisaf is given Ari Miklot, the 3 additional Ari Miklot. And this refers also to additions in Torah, in Ruchnius, the Izgalus Taimei Torah, La'asad Lavai, the revelation of the secrets of the deeper reasons of Torah when Mashiach comes, Durech, Mashiach Tzidkenu, Uv Meheira, V'yameinu Mamish.